All right, so you have a first meeting with a prospect. It goes beautifully. Everything's smooth. You kind of learn through that conversation, though they aren't the ultimate decision maker. And then after the meeting, you don't get the information you need. Stuff starts to kind of slow down a little bit. The question is, do you go around the person that you've been talking to get to the top, or do you not do that at risk of maybe blowing up the whole sale? In this episode, I'm going to answer that question for you, along with 3 other things that Ian and I talked about this week. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is the Diary of a New Producer. It's a special series that we're doing here at the Max Revenue channel. For those who don't know, it's basically a look behind the curtain into the life of a real producer who started about 7 months ago in the mid-market commercial insurance space. I'm his mentor. My name is Micah, and this is the Max Revenue Show. So welcome, everybody. We're pumped to have you. Without further ado, let's get into this. All right, so first thing I want to talk to you about, though, before we get into the should you go around someone or not, I'll save that for the end, is the feeling of, maybe you've heard the Pink Floyd song, and it's like, hey, is anybody out there, right? I think Dark Side of the Moon, we've maybe all listened to that 1 or 2 times in college, but there's this feeling of, is anybody out there, right? And it's like, I was talking with Ian about this, and he brought this up to me, and it was a great point about the psychological part of sales. But he's like, man, when I first started my first 5-6 months, I was like, is there anyone out there that needs help? I feel like everyone's telling me they got an agent. Everyone's telling me they're happy. And it can be very demoralizing. And now that he's kind of hitting the 7-8 month mark, he realizes, yes, there are people out there, right, who need help, who will talk to you. It's just a numbers game, unfortunately. And it takes some time to accrue a list of people who want to talk to you about their insurance. So you need to find these people, right? But he has a lot more of a positive outlook now, because he understands just that the first 6 months are extremely tough. So if you're an agent in your first 6 months, just get that. Or maybe you haven't cold prospected in a year or 2. You've kind of sat on your book. It's the same thing. As you're getting started, the first couple months of doing it will just feel like, man, everything is like you're pushing a 100-pound, weight uphill, right? Very, very difficult. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share with you. So get your mind right. Just understand there is people out there who need help. You got to find them. All right. So second thing I wanted to share with you this week was, we talked about a prospect who said, very first one, Ian called him, said, hey, are you local? And he was like, nah, I live about 2 hours away. I can come on out there though. And she just seemed very intent on wanting him to go out there in person. And Ian's question to me is like, should I go or no go? It's just a first meeting. I mean, what if it's too small? I said, well, it kind of depends. Of course, we don't want to drive 2 hours one way for a waste of time, right? But sometimes I think we can get so caught up in being efficient that we forget to do what's most effective. And if you have a prospect that's a big deal to them and the size justifies it, and only you can answer that question, I guess, but yes, you should go out there, right? I mean, you don't want to drive 20 hours across the country. There is a definite line. And but if it's a 1-2 hour drive, maybe even 3, it makes sense if the revenue is there. And again, don't just kind of bypass doing what's effective out of trying to be efficient, which Ian's trying to do. And I totally respect that. But one thing I told him, I think this is a good tip. I said, okay, if they're hell-bent on meeting in person, one thing I would say to them is, hey, before we meet in person, can we either talk for 10, 15 minutes on the phone? I just want to ask a few questions so I could be better prepared for a meeting. That's one thing. The other thing you could also say is, hey, before we meet in person, could you send some information over on just your current program, current policy, so I can review that and be most prepared for our meeting and we can have the most effective use of time together? That's what I would 100% do if you're driving 2 hours for a meeting, right? That makes sense because it's going to give you a good indication of, is the buyer really serious, but also do they have any problems? And it'll just make your time together more useful. So I think that's really important to really understand that. All right, so the third thing, sorry, I had to grab my notes here. Let's see. Oh, on expectations of splitting accounts. This is really important. So Ian's working on a deal. We have another guy in the office that I thought was a really good fit to help him on a certain deal for various reasons. And Ian was like, hey, I'm gonna call him Bob. Ian was like, hey, is Bob expecting me to split this with him? I said, I don't know. I don't think he is. But what you need to do is you need to talk to him and you need to ask him up front before it gets down the path any further. And that's a really good reminder for all of us in insurance, especially if you're younger. And if you're younger in the industry and you got people willing to help you out, have those conversations up front, right? Find someone hopefully who's willing to do it for no split. But if they are 100% like, hey, I need to get a split, make sure you deal with that, hash it out way before the finalist presentation, or way before the deal's closed and now you're bickering and fighting. That's not anything you want to do. All right. So now the last thing that I promised I would talk to you guys about today is the whole Gatekeeper Saga, right? Not even Gatekeeper. That's the wrong way to put it, because Gatekeeper go around. I'm talking, you get a first meeting and, it goes well, but you realize that's not the ultimate decision maker. Should you go around that person if it stalls out? So what happened to Ian is he called the owner first. The owner said, call this person. He calls that person, he gets the first meeting. I was on it with him. It went really, really well. Ton of pain. We thought this is maybe, a slam dunk. Well, anyways, now it's kind of been delayed. Nothing's moving forward. And he's like, what should I do? And I said, this is such a situational basis, right? There's no clear-cut answer. But I said, what I would do is give her some more time. It's been 1 week, right? Give it 2-3 weeks. And then if you still aren't hearing anything after you followed up a couple times, I don't think it hurts to go to the owner directly and to basically, maybe call him and just say, hey, I was working with so-and-so. I don't know, has she brought anything up to you? Because I haven't heard from her and I just didn't know. That's one thing you could do. You could always try sending an email back to your prospect, the lady you've been working with, and just CC the owner. Again, that's kind of risky because now it's in writing. It just kind of looks like, I'm tattling on you. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's a delicate situation. I don't think you want to rush to go around the person that you met with. But in Ian's case here, because he had his first initial call with the owner who passed him down, I don't think it's necessarily going to blow up the whole deal if you would just give the owner a call. And he could even just preface that call when he calls the owner, like, hey, I'm not trying to throw, Susie under the bus, but we had met and she had some interest and it's kind of died off. I don't know. Is she really busy? Is there a better way that I can maybe get through to her? That's something that if you're just honest with the owner might work really, really well. So, hey, that's all I got for you this week. If you enjoyed the episode, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up, comment below. What do you do to go around on a stalled deal? Do you go around the decision maker, not the decision maker? Do you go around the person you met with, or do you just walk away? What do you do? I'd like to hear your answer. Good luck out there.